Recently, the FBI did something unusual. It issued a general warning basically to all Americans and said that because of a hack that took place, basically all of us are at risk. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you what that hack is and how do we protect ourselves from it. But more importantly, it got me thinking about our cybersecurity, our own personal cybersecurity, and what we can do to protect ourselves. Because unfortunately, as we get older and our net worth increases, we become more and more of a target for these bad guys. So let's jump in. Let's start with what this attack is, and then we're going to broaden that discussion to more general cybersecurity. Okay, basically, if we have a cell phone, we're potentially at risk for this attack. And basically all of the cell phone providers in the United States were hacked by a Chinese, the FBI thinks it was a Chinese group, that when messages are sent from an iPhone to an Android or an Android device to an iPhone device, Apple device, I didn't know this, but apparently these texts are sent unencrypted. So it's almost like, think about if we send mail, and if we sent a postcard, anybody could look at that postcard and read it. And that's essentially what an unencrypted text message is. It's a postcard that anybody that the postcard travels by can read it. Where sending an encrypted message is like sending it inside of an armored car from person A to person B. And that gives us an added layer of protection. So, as I said earlier, unfortunately, we're all at risk and we have to be super careful. So what are some other things that we should be thinking about to protect ourselves? I mean, think about our online bank account. Think about your online brokerage account, anything that you're logging into. Boy, if you don't have a password manager yet, I urge you to think about getting one. This isn't sponsored. I'm not an affiliate of any password manager. But if you're reusing passwords, it's just a matter of time, unfortunately, until you get hacked. And the weakest link in all of this cybersecurity, even with a password manager, is the human involved. We can all be tricked, right? And they set up a sense of urgency. We only need to screw up once. And if we screw up once, they can take a lot from us. And what's happening is banks and custodians are getting tougher about saying they're gonna protect us from that, and they're gonna reimburse us those losses. So I would hate to see anybody lose any amount of money. And I would hate for you to go through the devastation of finding out the bank says, you know what, we're not going to reimburse you. Or the custodian where your account is held, your retirement account, or your brokerage account where you have stocks and bonds. I would hate for any of us to lose money from those accounts and have the institution say, sorry, we're not going to cover you. So what are some other things we can do? Boy, anytime you get a link and it says anytime a link has been sent to you and it's asking you to put in a verification code, it's asking you to put in a password, we want to be super careful. Boy, it's a lot easier to just click on the link and enter that information. But I think if it comes from your custodian, if it comes from your bank, we have to get outside of that browser and log in directly ourselves with a website address that we know to be correct, with an 800 number that we know to be correct, that's printed on the back of our ATM card or printed on the back of our credit card or comes in our statement every month with our bank account information. We really, really have to be diligent. The other thing is, if you see a USB key, if you see a charger cable somewhere, oftentimes that can be a trick. Now, it's more work for a hacker to go through something like this, but if you're at the airport and you see a charging cable lying around, you think, oh, I just got a free charging cable, right? Nobody's here, and you ask the person next to you, is this your charging cable? And they say no. boy, those can have microprocessors inside of them that can steal our information. So you don't want to go there. It can have viruses on it, so we just have to be careful. The other thing is if you don't have two-factor authentication. Now, two-factor authentication, that's where they send you the text. It's not perfect. Unfortunately, hackers can steal our phone number, and they can take control of our phone number. I've seen multiple reports about this. It usually involves somebody inside at the telephone company that allowed them to put your phone number on their SIM card so that they can get two-factor authentication. But just be careful with that. Also, when you get these cardboard boxes delivered to your home, be super careful if there's a QR code that says, to protect, to register your product, click here, or if there's any damage, scan this QR code. Go directly to the manufacturer, go directly to the retailer site and type that in yourself, because the QR code could take you to some place that's nefarious, that's asking you, it could look like it's, a major retailer's website, and they ask you to enter your username and password, and guess what? Once that happens, then the bad guys have your information. Also, anything that comes locked, if it's zipped and you need to put in a password to unzip it, be careful unzipping files, because those are what's called executable files, and it can go into your browser. Now, you know how when you go into your browser and you're logging into different sites, your bank site, a major retailer site, your email accounts, you know how you put in your password once, and then the next time you go at the browser, you don't have to put in that information again? That's called an authentication cookie. And the problem with authentication cookies is those are files that reside in your computer, and if you click on one of these executable files, it can look and take all the authentication cookies for your email, for these retailers, maybe for your bank, and it can use those cookies to log in as you without having to use your password. And the bad guys can even change your password without having to log in with the old password. So, and then they can lock you out of your own account, and then you have a big problem. So again, as we get older, we're not, we're not as sharp. Hopefully we're still at 100%, but I know myself, I'm probably at 90% as I get older. I'm not as acutely aware of some things, and our net worth hopefully is increasing, so it becomes more profitable to hack us. So I urge you to be super careful, and I also urge you, important things like this. Another super important question is, when are you going to retire? What's the right time for you to retire? Does it make sense to keep working to 65 or over 65? And that's why I made this video here. Why waiting to 65 to retire might be a big mistake. I'll see you in that video. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.